Self-quarantining.
And a quarantine order.
Quarantined in their...
Held in quarantine.
Quarantine.
The quarantine in place.
Quarantine for the required 14 days.
Hey, what's up, people? Welcome to another episode of Quarantine Talks. Today, I got my boy P Mercado, aka Pete Markets, on the pod. Yeah. I don't know why I did that, man. Pete is a biochemical scientist at a major research company. He's the director of knowledge at Revel, a cannabis innovation showcase, aka it's kind of like a cannabis pop-up, guys, and a co-founder of a mental health startup soon to launch in the NYC area that is targeted completely and wholly to people of color. Yes, this nigga is smart. I say it multiple times during the pod because I literally can't believe how smart this motherfucker is sometimes, yo. We talk about pretty much everything on this episode, so let's jump in. And what's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another episode of Quarantine Talks. Today I got with me my boy Peter.
Yo.
Peter, I just realized I don't know your last name.
Mercado Reyes.
That's right. Market Kings. Peter Market Kings here. Peter Market Kings here. All right. Let me see. I already kind of like sort of introduced you, but go ahead, tell the people who you are, where you're from, or where you live in, and what you do.
So I'm in Harlem, New York City. I'm a scientist at a biotechnology company. I also serve as director of knowledge for On the Revel, which is a cannabis innovation showcase. And during this quarantine process, it looks like I'm going to co-found a mental health company with some of my friends called Metalust. So we got multiple hats over here.
Metalust?
Metalust.
Okay. Wait, director of knowledge? What the fuck does that mean? Like you...
So it's like we have different processes for speakers. We have different processes internally for content generation. And we have different assets like the content that we create or our contacts in our network, stuff like that. And so I kind of just manage and I'm aware of where all that kind of stuff goes.
Holy shit. Okay. And that's for the... Revel, which was the...
Cannabis Innovation Showcase.
Got you. And then, are you still did you say behavioral psychologist? Are you still that?
No, so I'm a research associate or scientist at a biotechnology company called Calliope that focuses on understanding and harnessing the potential for understanding the gut-brain axis. So your gut has a nervous system of its own that relays and integrates a lot of information throughout your body to your brain. And for a long time in science, we kind of ignored that. But it turns out that it exists, obviously, and that it's really important for understanding things like obesity and things like that.
AKA, this nigga smart. So how did you wait? And so like the mental health thing, like that's interesting. Like how is that going to function and work?
Yeah, we're in the process right now. We're writing up like a business plan and like a market research plan or market research analysis. But the idea is that for people of color, mental health obviously is stigmatized. And so how can we provide and curate spaces for which people of color can have these conversations. But then more than anything, we want to highlight and feature different health modalities. So traditionally people would think when it comes to mental health that they want to talk to a therapist or a psychiatrist. But there are a bunch of other things, and we want to be able to bring those people with those resources. For instance, whether you believe in it or not, there are things like scent therapy, music therapy, dance therapy, singing together, different workshops for people to focus on curating and generating empathy. Reiki is a thing, which is like has to do with like vibe and vibrations and energy. Then something in particular interest of mine too is like psychedelic guides and people who will help guide you if you wanted to through a trip. And
You
psychedelic
would
medicine.
like that.
And psychedelic medicine.
You would like that.
Kind of having a resurgence. There's a bunch of aspects to it, but we want to be able to just provide a space, particularly curated to people of color, where they can explore and have access to those resources.
Holy shit. Okay. That's what's up. God, you're smart. You're so smart. So I think I want to ask, okay, everybody, you guys heard him say, so Peter lives in New York. Is it Harlem or Hamilton Heights?
Harlem.
Both? Sorry, he's directly in the city. So I talked to my boy Kenny about a week ago, and he is in Queens. And he said he hasn't really left Queens at all. Because he lives in Queens, he works in Queens. So, like, the only time he would go to the city would be, like, to party or something. And obviously, that shit ain't happening. So, I want to know, how has life been different for you in your neck of the woods since this all began? Like, what's different, if anything? Like, what's the major differences?
Dramatically different. Like, I'm inside every other day. I try to go outside and go to the park when it's like nice out, and I'll stretch and do that for like an hour and a half max. But I have like gloves and masks, fortunately, when I do go out. So I'll wear those. But the streets are dead. Usually in Harlem, especially throughout New York in general, though, people are always just hanging out in the corners. And you still got some old heads who refuse to go home, but now they're wearing masks. But for the most part, people aren't in the streets like that. The first week was crazy because the first week people were like out and like buying stuff. Like, it was a frenzy. Grocery stores were empty. I'm sure everybody remembers that. But then going now into the third week, it's kind of just like ghost town. But as far as like my average day, I'm waking up later, obviously.
Yeah.
For me, luckily, my work from home doesn't really translate because usually I'm doing like experiments on like mice and things like that, and I can't do that from home. So it's kind of just changed the whole nature of my work. But most certainly it'll increase once we are able to go back to our facilities. But usually it's hang out in the middle of the day, cook breakfast, do whatever I got to do, and then come evening, talking with my girlfriend or my roommate, watching TV. I find that I've been doing a lot of like house party, FaceTime, a lot more communication with people more regularly. So even like old friends, but then also family just more regularly. So that is one highlight. Silver lining throughout all this is the more regular communication with family and friends.
Yeah, you've got like no excuse. Like, everybody's in the house now. Like, it's like it's like everybody's in the house now. I mean, you said something that was like interesting last night. You were like, when you talk to your friends in, like, let's say California, you said like they're going through what you guys went through now or something like that, or went through 2 weeks ago. Like,
I would say they're like a week and a half lagged. So I got family in Indiana, and then I got a lot of friends in LA and Cali. And so when stuff was going down here, obviously New York's ground zero for the United States for all this. Monday, it was like I got in, and there's like, oh, it's kind of eerie. There are a lot of people sick, but we're just going to continue like normal. And then we went in on Tuesday, and then it was just like, no, everybody go home. Like, we're shutting everything down. So it's kind of crazy. For my friends in Cali at that time, they were kind of just like they were more on like the buzz of it all, like the social media side of it. So it is weird in that respect, in terms of like, and then every state is different. Like,
right.
I know I have family in Florida. They didn't really care too much about anything going on until like last week when the federal government had to like intervene, I guess, or like a week and a half ago. I don't know. The weeks of time is different now. But it was, yeah. I think there is a stratification between New York and other places in the United States.
It's like, yeah, it's interesting in Atlanta because like official like quarantine status was like this week, maybe like 3 or 4 days ago. And then now, like I said, with this week, it's like stay at home order. What do you call it? Quarantine, stay, whatever the fuck you call it. And it's still very interesting because it's like, it's nice here. You know, I don't know if it's warm up there or not, but like it's nice here. So like people will still be out or whatever. But like we have this area called the Beltline, which would be kind of like maybe like the High Line up there. Okay. And like the mayor got on live yesterday and she was like, look, don't make us have to shut the shit down. If you can use the public areas, you can use the parks, but stay away from each other. She was like, people are constantly going in groups. People are playing football. People are having all this like contact sports. She was like, we can't have that. She was like, if people aren't following directions, we're gonna have to shut the parks down, shut all of that down. So she's like, you know, like, please, you can go outside, you can exercise, you can do this, but make sure that you guys are distant. She was like, if the population does not continue to distance, we're gonna have to shut it down. So it's like, wow. So yeah, like that happened.
That's how parks are here. Parks here, like, they're populated, not densely, but fluctuates at different times. But then people are kind of like staying away from each other. Mm-hmm. But I hear that, like, I have friends in Brooklyn, and like Brooklyn people are just out and about. Like Prospect Park, like the first week of quarantine was like packed 24/7. People said, and still even like now, I'm hearing that people are out there like having like little parties and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Like, that was going to be my next question, because I was like, supposedly, like, okay, so, like, Cuomo was on TV talking about, like, fining people for going outside. I'm like, is that happening? Like, is it after a certain point at night? Like, my guy in Queens was like, everybody's off the streets by 8 p.m. Like, nobody's on the streets after 8 p.m. But he's like, before that, you'll see people, like, out and about, like, you know, running errands or whatever else. But he's like, after 8 p.m., he's like, it's a ghost town. Because I'm like, how do you define, like, if you tell people that they have to stay inside, but then you say, oh, but you can go outside for X, Y, and Z, like exercise or walking a dog or whatever else, it's like, well, then it's like a very blurry area as to, like, oh, I'm outside exercising, or I'm just outside. Like, you understand what I'm saying? Like, that's what I'm like.
I think the fines come into play when it's like a large group of people, like hanging out, like loitering, as they would like call it before all this. Mm-hmm. So I think that's when the fines come into play. Late night, it's kind of like the street lights and stuff still work, but things are closed, so there's really like no point being out. Mm-hmm. And then people during the day, like people are outside doing whatever. But, you can't really discriminate between what their purpose is. Right. I haven't seen any enforcement or police presence of that kind where I live. But I do hear that, like, Brooklyn, with all the hipsters and young people who just want to, like, hang out and fuck and do drugs and whatever, like, they want to get together and have groups and stuff, and like that's where the problem is.
Okay, because like I known some other people too. Like one of my other friends lives in Harlem. No, he lives in Brooklyn. He lives in Brooklyn, but he lives on like the half gentrified side. So he's like, when I walk outside, I still see everybody. He's like, I still see a bunch of people. He's like, it's not like what he normally is, but he's like, I still see people, so I don't know. Yeah. You know, and then like when I listen to certain other things, like I was listening to The Read the other day, and they were like, one of them lives in Harlem, and she's like, yeah, these niggas are outside. Like, are the bodegas open and shit like all night, or do they close now too?
I don't know. I haven't left my house. I guess there's no reason to go out late, and so I don't know. I haven't been out. I can't give you an honest opinion on that.
That's what I've been trying to figure out. I'm like, yo, are the bodegas still open? Can I still get a chopped cheese at like?
They're open during the day for sure.
No, I'm talking about like at 1 a.m.
I don't know. I don't think they're 24 hours anymore. The demand is too low. Like, it's not worth it.
Is the climate in the city like regular still? Like, is the energy?
Oh no, the energy's dead, bro. Everybody's inside. You know, like, you don't have a pulse of people. It's not the New York that people know. Like all those. Like, we've seen all those carousels on Instagram of everything being empty. Mm-hmm. And it is very much like that. Like, obviously, like in New York, from your apartment, if you got a window and it's not facing another building, mine faces the street, luckily, but I don't see nobody out there. Like you'll see like people with grocery bags walking by every now and then, but that's it.
I wanna experience for myself, but I also don't want to be there. So
Yeah, it's weird.
like
It's weird because it's like ants in an anthill. Like if you like fuck with it, you're gonna have like a swarm of ants come out. But like looking at it from outside, you just see one or two every now and then. Yeah, it's weird.
Wait, so you haven't been on like no trains or like no buses or nothing like that?
Last time I went on a train was on Monday because I tried to hit up a Trader Joe's, but that line was ridiculous. It was literally around the block, around the corner, and they had like sidewalk for 6 feet apart. So it was ridiculous. But I went on the train to try and go to Trader Joe's, but then I just took the train back up. And for the trains, it's very sparse. Like I would say on average per cart, it was like around like 7 to 10 people.
Oh wow!
And then everybody was like spaced out. Like everyone gets like one aisle of seats.
Oh wow!
That's what it was. Yeah.
I saw
yeah.
Go ahead. Oh no, go ahead.
That was just my sample. It's obviously biased, but
I saw like something on Instagram where it had like a sign in the subway, like, and I don't know if this is real, but it looked real. And it was like riding the train, and then it said like it was like riding the train, then it had something under it. It said, "Are you an essential worker? Yes. Continue. Are you not? No. Why are you here? Go home."
Yeah.
Is
that's
that?
all it's doing.
I was like, is that real?
That was like in Times Square where they have like a bunch of signs and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Me, my supervisor, and a coworker, we all live within like a 15-block radius. And even then, the underlying tone is like, take a Uber to meet up. Never take the train, like unless you have to. Yeah. So most people are trying to like drive out of the city or they'll fly or whatever. But I haven't seen a lot of like trains or buses or anything like that. Because I think buses are closed. Like Greyhounds, I don't think they're like doing stuff anymore. But I don't know. It's a good question.
Because I had somebody I know was on Instagram, and he had like he works for an airline, so like he flew out of LaGuardia to somewhere, and he said like when you leave, either when you leave the city or when you come into wherever you're going, like they make you sign paperwork saying that okay, you just left New York area, like you will quarantine for 14 days. Like they make you sign paperwork, and I was like,
yeah, I've seen that. I've heard that too.
I was like, oh shit, okay. Well, like, what happens if you don't? I guess like I don't know. Like that's a good. That's why I was asking. I was like, you know anybody that tried to leave, or have you guys tried to leave? And like that signing paperwork thing, it's like okay, well if I sign paperwork and I'm not quarantining, like, do I go to jail? Like how does that work? Like
I think it's more of just like airports and airlines covering their ass kind of thing.
Like I mean, like because like my roommate is essential, as am I. But like he works around a very contained quantity of people, and like there are people at his job that have tested positive for COVID. And it's like me, I also work around a shit ton of people. So it's like I looked at him and he looked at me and I was like, well, shit, we in this together, bro.
Whatever happens to one of you happens to all.
Exactly. So it's like, I mean, like, fuck. I mean, like, we're not. He's like, he was like, do you want to, like, I don't know if you want to come back. But I was like, the only other option would be like to go be around my old family members and like kill them. Like, no, I'm good. We just in this together, bro. Like be around my grandma and my mom. Like, nah, we good. It is what it is. Like, you know, it's nothing you can do. Do you know anybody with the COVID?
Yeah, I knew this question was going to come. But like my like immediate friends and family have not tested positive, but I've had a few cases where those friends have family members who are directly affected. But the saddest case that I have is a friend of mine. He has family, like a seven-member household, and his two of his cousins, his aunt, his uncle, his grandfather, and then they're like significant others of like the cousins and something, and all of them have it. And then his grandfather is basically on his like not deathbed, but like is immobile, has got turned away from the hospital, and is not doing well. And then his dad tested positive too. And then because his dad tested positive and his stepmom and his little sister are both sickly, they didn't get tested, but they most likely have it too. So literally that's 10 people in his immediate family who've gotten infected.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Wow. So and that's the most extreme case and saddest case. And I like think about him all the time. And so I'm constantly like hitting him up and like we talk and stuff. But like that's scary. Yeah.
That is like really like fucked up. Cause it's like I feel like if you live in New York and have been in New York constantly for the past like month or so, you probably have it. But like, you know, it's the thing about being asymptomatic. And it's like, cause it's entirely possible to hold it and then not have symptoms, but still infect the person. Which is, you know, like why I said what I said to my roommate. I was like, fuck no, I'm not going home. Like, I feel fine. Like, I feel amazing, barring the pollen that is just everywhere in Georgia. Jesus Christ. But, like, you know, that doesn't mean that I don't have it or that I haven't been exposed to it. And, you know, like, it doesn't mean that. So it's just like, you know, thinking about that. It's like, ugh, like, oof. That's like really messed up, like 10 people in the house. And it's like, I also...
Well, 2 different households. 10 people all together.
Oh, 2 different households, 10
it's
people.
Crazy. It's crazy.
Because I had also heard, like, so the testing for it is free, but the treatment is like $34,000 when you're in the hospital.
Really?
Yeah.
I haven't heard that.
Yeah, I've heard that, like, from multiple people, like, excuse me. I've heard that from multiple people, like, the treatment for it is like $34,000. Like, it's like super expensive. And I'm like, and I'm still trying to figure out.
The treatment for that is like, they're giving you the constant monitoring, which is a lot of money. Sometimes people are getting ventilated or intubated in order for them to breathe, and that's a lot of money. And then like just general care when you're in a hospital day by day is a lot of money. So I'm sure. And then like if you get diagnosed, again, 90% of people can get it and then be fine.
Right.
But still, like you said, like that's 10 days, 7 days in the hospital, and like every single day you're getting thousands on thousands. So yeah, it's a lot. I thought in the stimulus bill there is some money allocated towards relief and compensation for coronavirus related or COVID related healthcare costs.
I don't know. I know for a fact that there is money for hospitals, doctors, money for equipment.
Money to help them fight it.
Right.
But I thought there was some.
I know for a fact testing was a thing because I was talking to a friend, and I think I was talking to you last night, and we were talking about like how useful testing actually is versus like vaccine, like, you know. And I'm just like, testing people to see if they have it, in my opinion, at this stage of the game where we're at, like, it just doesn't make any sense to, you know, especially in a high density population kind of thing. Like, it doesn't, like New York, like, why do we need more tests in New York? Like, let's just, you know, let's call a spade, and it's like, okay, look, everybody, let's treat people like they do have it and then work backwards. Because I feel like you would save more time and resources depending on versus trying to figure out if they do.
Well, I mean, the case for testing is in management. Like, you don't know how bad the problem is unless you have a diagnostic for it, you know, and you're able to track it over time. So that's where where testing has to happen in order to manage it. So like in that case, like for you with your allergies, you come in, you have all these symptoms. Instead of me saying, okay, you have these symptoms, go self-isolate, which would work and can work, But if instead you're like, okay, I have the test. I'm gonna give you the test, and then in 2-3 days we're gonna know. And then if you test positive, then you are mandated to self quarantine, and maybe we can provide facilities for you to be at if you don't have those, or you can't self quarantine in your own house. Like that. That's where it helps. And also, like, say you came in with all the symptoms and it's something else. It's not COVID, is just like the regular flu, then it could be like, okay, like you're safe to go somewhere else and recover instead of being in the hospital. So it helps with management, and with like, also it helps a lot just for the individual's mental health. Because like, say you, like, I know a lot of people who, all sorts of different symptoms from allergies or flu or whatever, and they were they're having panic attacks. They were driving themselves like mad, thinking that they had it. And so that's where test helps as well. But for the main part, the tests mainly just help like the government and allocate resources accordingly, manage the infections, stuff like that. Like that's mainly what
And
helps with.
that would help our government in a normal situation with a normal president that is capable and competent. But like, anyway, but like in this case, we're just kind of like fucked. It's kind of like, it sucks to say, but we're just kind of like fucked. Wow, that sucks. I'm still thinking about your friend, and like, it was really, really bad.
Yeah, it's hard to shake. It's hard to shake.
I think last question I got for you on a brighter note. So I normally ask, do people have a Corona Bay? You actually have a Corona Bay.
Yeah.
Thank God too. How mighty Daddy. Mary Terry, how you doing, girl? Yeah, like, no. So how's that working out between you guys? Like, what are you guys doing to cut? Like, are you guys seeing each other? Like, how does this work? Because I would probably be like,
together every day. We still kiss and mess around, etc.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, my germs are her germs. That has been the case before this and after this. I'm really happy with my relationship. We definitely have to be. We have gotten. We always have good communication, but like even more so now. Like, I have periods where I get cabin fever, and I get super annoying. Like, I start like pacing, making noise, randomly doing like push-ups and squats, and like I get like really hyperactive randomly, or cabin fever and stuff like that. And so she has to deal with that. She's a social worker, so like her job during the day is like talking to people throughout the day, and so like she needs time when that's over to just like be by herself,
right?
And like recollect. So yeah, I mean, coping in that way, a lot more communication. Now going into week 3, we kind of have some routine and some habits, and so that's helping. And then like sometimes we switch it up, and like I get the living room, she gets the bedroom. We switch it up, vice versa. Sometimes cooking is every meal, basically. Oh
wait, you guys live together now?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And so with cooking, we have to like.
Wait, where the hell is she?
Change. She's in the other room because she just finished work at 4, so.
Oh,
she's
okay.
Decompress mode.
Let's say, say hi, damn it.
And then I have a roommate too, and for him, his work hours are completely different. So for him, it's just completely different. But he's been really understanding. He just kind of just sticks in his room during the day because one of us has to use the living room and the other one has to use the bedroom.
Right.
That's been good. But yeah, bro, it's not easy. It's not easy.
At least you boot up. I ain't got no corona.
Yeah. I know for a lot of my gay men friends, after this, casual sex, if before it was wild and free, after this, it's even more so wild and free. Because they're all like, a bunch of them have expressed extreme withdrawal, dick withdrawal, as they call it.
Oh, wow.
Oh, well, I have a friend in Brooklyn who, throughout all this, he says that Tinder and all these like hookup dating apps, whatever, are on fire out there. Like he says that he's had like a semi-steady rotation, like every other day, even daily, and different people throughout. He had one day where like it was in the morning, somebody stayed over the night, and then another person came in that night, that kind of stuff, where like there are some people who are getting their fix no matter what.
Yeah. That makes sense. Like that's gonna happen regardless, especially like with everybody home. Like I would love to see like I don't know if
but
any
like
of
as
these...
a first Tinder date. I mean, obviously it's just a hookup at that point,
right?
But like as a first like meetup, like you just go to someone's place. Like obviously you're trying to fuck.
Yeah.
But it's different. Like it changes the dynamics a lot. It's pretty weird.
Because it's like I don't know. I feel like is it. Oh, that's so interesting. Like, I wish some of these companies were public because I would buy stock.
Oh, no, you can invest in Match owns Tinder.
Oh, Match does?
Yeah. So, and Match is a publicly traded company.
I'll look into Match. Like, I'll actually Google that and probably when we finish talking and see how much the stock price is. But, like, yeah. I wish I was, like, I don't know. I haven't even really been, like, focused on sex or anything. Like, I've been so busy. Like, I've been keeping myself busy, like, content creation.
Yeah, man.
So
it's
like,
weird. Yeah.
Like,
some people have, like, they go into work mode in reaction to stress, like this trauma. Some people are checked out. A lot of people are checked out, just like streaming, watching, like just like living. Like people who got fired or furloughed or and stuff like that. I feel like they're more likely to enter that state. Some people are emboldened. Some people are super stressed just by work and like the increased workload demand. Yeah, it's affecting a lot of people. No matter what, it's affecting you in a way that you weren't before. Like, I don't know anybody who's just like, oh, yeah, everything's kind of like whatever. Like, might have a supervisor who, like, he's fine, but, like, now he, like, lives on the couch and, like, works 14-hour days, sleeps on the couch, wakes up, starts all over, that kind of thing. So it's different in terms of, like, workplace environment, whatever. But, like, yeah, I don't know. It's hard.
Do you guys, I heard rumors, but not substantiated. Like, is there gonna be like a rent hold freeze in New York? Like, what's going on? I thought Cuomo was trying to do something
like,
to do that.
Online activism campaign for it with like a petition and some things like that. In talking to friends, I don't know. I know a lot of friends who are sharing it and are advocating for it, including myself. But like for me and my apartment owner, she owns like this building and like a couple others. And she's also really worked with me throughout all this stuff. So I've been paying my rent. But whether there's going to be a moratorium, I don't think so. Like New York, I don't know. I mean, I hope so. I want to fight for it. I've signed the petitions and stuff like that, and I share it on social media. Yeah, I have like tons of other friends, like I said, who I'm in talking about it, but there hasn't been. I don't know anybody who's actively not
paying rent.
Yeah. And then on the flip side of that, it's even if they boycott now, you're just going to be held liable for it later, which just makes more money later. So it doesn't really help or solve the problem, you know? So it has to be like forgiveness. And forgiveness on the part of like a landlord, I don't think would happen unless government intervention and unless it decides to pay. But there is a moratorium on mortgage payments because that goes to a bank, and like the banks are all fucked right now. It's up to, but then that was done through the government. So if you're an owner, it's a little bit better because then now you don't have to pay mortgage. But from New York, where more than 80% of the people rent,
exactly.
Yeah.
Because owning is so unattainable in New York because of cost of living, like that shit. Like that's what I was thinking about, like people not working and stuff. I'm thinking like cities like New York and states like California. My God, like I'm just like, and you know, it's like people aren't working. Like how are people supposed to pay bills? Like you know, like what are you gonna do? You're gonna evict everybody? So now we have double the health crisis because now people aren't gonna social distance if they're out fucking side on the streets. Like, how does this work?
I think there's a moratorium on evictions. I'm pretty sure there's a moratorium on evictions.
Okay.
So cops, police, whatever those people are called, they're not doing their job right now.
Okay.
But like, so say like this month, if you wanted to boycott, like once this is all over, who's to say that your landlord's not going to just kick you out, you know? And that's a gamble like every New Yorker's like making or made yesterday. So, and silver lining, I think people are connecting more. I think after this, you're going to see a lot more empathy in the workplace. Because like, for instance, like with me and my Zoom meetings, and the different organizations that I have, like everybody's doing a mental health check, at the beginning or the end of a meeting, and having conversations that usually we wouldn't have, or like self-disclosing in a way that usually it doesn't happen. So that's a big positive benefit. I know a lot of creators, like filmmakers, artists, activists, things like, and creatives in general. And they're all creating like their own projects. And I know that they're like utilizing this as like a source of inspiration, and just time to like be in themselves and create. So I think after this, you're going to see a lot of like art and movements, and activism and in people. I really hope that this is the wake up call the majority of American needs, in order to pivot to supporting a candidate like Bernie Sanders. Things like that, where I maybe there are some silver linings in all this.
Yeah. I said that too. I was like, the one positive thing about this is that all of those things that we said or that the establishment said we don't need, can't have, won't happen, are happening, do need, and, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We need it. Like, it's like, like, this is the wake-up call, like, that America needs to, like, have a pivot towards socialism, because like everybody's affected by this. Like you could be in the top 1%, that's cool, but like the 99% below you aren't working and making you money. So now what are you gonna do? Because like you might not feel it for 6 months, hell, you might not even feel it for a year. But like when that fiscal report comes going into year 2 and you're down like, I don't know, $1 billion, you're like, okay, wait a minute, this can't keep going. Like it's just interesting because it's so like unilaterally hitting everyone that it's like, you know, this country is really forced to look at itself in the mirror and be like, okay, we might need to make some changes. Like, we might need to make some changes. So, but Peter Mercado, thank you, Mr. Market, for coming on the cast on Quarantine Talks. And
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome, man. And I think we out. So
we out.
Peace.
Until next time. Peace.
All right, well, that's it, guys. Thanks for listening. Hope you guys enjoyed the convo. And if you would like to be a guest on the show, or you know anybody who might want to be on the show, who might make a good guest, please shoot an email over to jc@theovt.com. Again, that's the letters jc@theovt.com. Also, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor. Quarantine Talks is edited and produced by me, JC, with music by Brian Haddon. Thanks so much, guys, for listening. Stay safe, stay sane, and stay creative. All right? Peace.